Well, all right. Night one of the NFL draft is in the books. My night, not quite over yet. This is the last video I'm recording before I will go to bed. But again, we'll have plenty of content for day two as well. Let's do a day two mock draft. Why don't we? Now, again, a lot of what I typically do is for night one. That's what I put a lot of my focus into. It's possible there will be a player or two that I haven't fully scouted that we get to towards the end of this, but I think there should be plenty of, good, interesting stuff here. So yeah, let's just get into it. Starting off with, the Buffalo Bills. Honestly, there's a few really good players, I feel like, that are still on the board. For the Bills, they're in a unique spot where I honestly think there's a couple of weak spots for them, but I'm going to go with my best player available, which I'm surprised. Johnny Newton, still on the board at this point. I definitely thought he would be going before now. I had him as like a top 10 prospect on my big board. And he was number 11 on PFF's big board. So it's not like I was crazy. Very surprising he fell, but I'm going to have him go here at pick 33 to the Bills, who have Ed Oliver, but could use another interior guy. Then we have the Patriots, which, there's other players I really like, but to be honest, for the Patriots, they just need to help out their offense. They need to help out Drake May, who they just went out and drafted. Like, when you have a young quarterback, the rules are different. The goal is different. Your goal is to help out the young quarterback, not to try and win football games right now, as weird as that might sound. Who can help out their young quarterback? Well, you need a wide receiver. Some people would go with one of these top three guys. I think they're all very good. I did have Keon Coleman as my next wide receiver, so I know my podcast co-host Kyle, big fan of Keon Coleman, would be very happy about that if it happened. So the Cardinals, I'm going with a guy, Kool-Aid McKinstry, who, again, if you follow this channel, I think is a great corner, incredibly underrated. I think should have been gotten a lot more attention than he ended up getting, so he would be my pick. Then we have the Commanders, who are kind of in a bit of a similar situation that the Patriots were in. Now I think their offense is better than the Patriots' offense is, but I still think they could go out and help out in that position. But where exactly do you want to go offensively? Do you need another receiver? I think they could use a guy. Give me a Donnie Mitchell. Why not? Try to put your young quarterback in as good of a position to succeed as possible. Yes, they need offensive line help, and I really like Jackson Powers-Johnson, but I don't know. I feel like getting a receiver kind of would help them out more, and Powers-Johnson is a center. That's not listed as a need for the Commanders, so I kind of feel like this makes sense for me. Next up, going to the Los Angeles Chargers, and again, if we're thinking need, they really could use a wide receiver right now. I really think that would be that's something we should look at as a need for them. But there's other positions they need, including every defensive position, basically. Give me Cooper DeJean here, or Cooper DeJohn, whatever you want to call him. I think he could be a good fit here. Next up is the Titans, who I kind of want to go Jackson Powers-Johnson, but again, weirdly, that's kind of the one offensive line position they're actually okay on. So I think that would, I really like Jackson Powers-Johnson a lot. I had him as a mid-first rounder, but he keeps falling due to other teams having more pressing needs, I suppose. Give me a guy, I really like this player, and I think is underrated. Give me Ennis Rakeshaw Jr. I think he's someone who is a really good corner, and that is a position that they could, they really want to address. I don't think it's a huge position of need, but I think they could use some depth there. So getting another corner here, he's the second highest player on my board, just behind Jackson Powers-Johnson. So yeah, I like that. And then for the Panthers, okay, so the Panthers, who traded up to get Xavier Legette, they could double down on receiver. I actually wouldn't hate going after a Ladd McConkey, who I just realized I screwed up, and McConkey is ahead of Mitchell on my big board, but whatever, we're going with it. I do like Ladd McConkey a lot. But I kind of feel like Jackson Powers-Johnson just makes sense here, right? Give me. Now I don't know, actually. Is that the right move? Yeah, give me Jackson Powers-Johnson. And then for the Commanders, who are in a unique position where, again, it's kind of like the pieces they really need. I don't know if I'm there'd be a great fit here. You know what? They could really use secondary help. Give me Tyler Nubin. I think they could use a lot of secondary help after what happened. That works. Yes, I know you want to help out your young quarterback, but getting a defense that's competent can help out your young quarterback. He doesn't feel like he has to score every possession. That still matters. So Sure, the Packers fans wouldn't be thrilled about that. I think they might like getting Newman because, again, early on they drafted Jordan Morgan, tried to help out that offensive line position. They're in kind of a situation where they could just go best player available, and do you go wide receiver? I know they don't need a wide receiver, but there's some good ones in this spot. You're kind of at the point where receivers are kind of the player to pick. I won't go there. I'm going to go with defensive back and go with Mike Sandstrom, who, I like. I had him as kind of a early second round grade, so this is, where he goes. I think this would be good value at this point. We didn't have the Texans, who wide receiver is listed as a need. If it is, it's not a massive one, I wouldn't say. Obviously, they have some, I actually don't get how it's a need at all. You have Tank Dell, Diggs. Maybe it just hasn't updated since the Diggs trade because you obviously have Nico Collins as well. But, yeah, I don't really fully agree with that. They don't have a lot of needs in general. Here's a guy that, well, this is going to be a controversial pick, but you know what? I still think linebackers matter, and I really like Edgerrin Cooper. He's someone who I think is a really underrated player. I really liked his game a lot. So, while this would be a reach for a lot of people, not for me. I actually have a first-round grade on Cooper, so I just disagree with a lot of people there. Next up is the Atlanta Falcons, which I'll be honest, I don't really know what they're doing after their weird first round where they didn't trade, but they drafted quarterback Michael Penix, even though they paid Kirk Cousins a boatload of money. That was weird, right? That was a weird thing that happened. They could, again, you're going to see round 2. I'm much more willing to draft for need in this situation than I typically am. And, for them, they could, I still think that, now going after an edge rusher might make sense. Let's see who they have. Chris Braswell, I like him enough. Sure, let's add him to the list. Why don't we? Chris Braswell makes the pick 43, so they still get an edge rusher, just not in round 1, which is an interesting situation. Then for the Raiders, where did they go? Did they just go best player available? Highest guy on my board is Ladd McConkey, but I don't know if that's a pressing need, but I don't know. It wouldn't be the worst idea in the world either, would it? It's interesting because I do feel like wide receiver is, there's so much depth. That's what we keep talking about, right? The depth at the wide receiver spot. But I also think that, some of the teams that are picking here, wide receiver isn't their biggest need, which is just interesting. Again, this is going to be one that people are going to say is a reach, but I really don't think so. I think he's a really good player. Junior Colston, I think he's a really good linebacker and worth kind of just the round when I would pick him, or, I'd pick him maybe even early second round, certainly mid second round. Next up is where I think we start to see a run on wide receivers, and it honestly makes me wonder if a team like the Raiders would trade down. I'm not doing trades. It's almost 1 o'clock here on the East Coast, so we're not going that crazy here. But I do think wide receivers go here. Give me Ladd McConkey to the Saints. He's next highest guy on my board. He was the last guy on my board. I had a first round grade on. Is it the perfect fit? Actually, it's kind of a good fit too. Yeah, I would be upset with that as a Tampa Bay fan if that happened. The Colts, I think, could use a receiver as well. Let's give them Troy Franklin, highest on PFF's board, highest on my board at this point. Then we have the Giants, who just added a wide receiver, but you know what? They could use another one. They got a guy in Malik Neighbors who's, speed threat, who can do a lot of different things. I had Johnny Wilson next to my board, but you can get him later. We won't go with that. But yeah, I don't know. Do I want Roman? Well, give me Jalen Polk. I like that move of let's double down. Let's try to really improve that receiving core at this point. The Jaguars already got a receiver, so they're okay there. Where do they want to go? Here, they could use a secondary player. I guess the question is, which one do you want to go with, and do you want to go with a safety, Javon Bullard, who is 47th on PFF's big board, or the other guy I was thinking about would be TJ Tampa. Okay, they're right next to each other basically. So yeah, you could go with either one. I don't know. I think they could probably use a corner more. So give me TJ Tampa. It'd be an interesting fit in that scheme. I don't know if I'd hate that. So then you have the Bengals, who added a tackle, so they got that shored up. And, how about Jatavian Sanders? Let's get someone who can be a good over-the-middle player, which they might really need now at this point. So give them a weapon. Sure, I like that. That's a fun one. The Eagles kind of always just go best player available. Hey, you got Zach Frazier on the board. He's a center. They could use a center. Boom. Works out perfectly. Now the Steelers are upset. They maybe wanted him. I don't know. They did get obviously Fatanu in the or Fontanu. I've heard that guy's name get pronounced differently like 1,000 times. I don't know what's going on there, but he's someone who is interesting. He's someone who I think, hey, to help the offensive line out a bit, they could use a receiver, so let me give him Roman Wilson. Why don't we? He's the next highest receiver on PFF's big board, and I believe he's the next highest on my big board, with the exception of Johnny Wilson, who maybe I'll still sneak into the draft later on at some point. I don't know. The Rams are here, and we're really getting to the point where after 50 picks, things get off the rails pretty quickly. You get some really out there selections, but for them, maybe this is, I'm going to give them Javon Bullard. They could use secondary help. That's what I'm going with. I think their safeties are actually okay, but I'm still going to go with another safety. They need safety. They need secondary help in general, so that's where I'm going. The Eagles addressed the secondary already. You know what? I'm not crazy about this player, but let's just put him here. Let's go Peyton Wilson. My criticism of Peyton Wilson is essentially he had one good year when he had been in the defense for a long time. Like, sometimes those players end up just kind of, petering out. Those older players that finally kind of hit their, ceiling their last year in college. Doesn't always go totally well, but at the same time, they just need a linebacker who can do their job, and that's what Peyton Wilson can do. So, yeah, let's put him there in the mix. Hey, the Cleveland Browns are on the clock. One of their needs is interior defensive lineman Braden Fisk, next highest guy on my board. Don't you love when that works out? It works out here. This is where he ends up going. So, at pick 55, the Miami Dolphins are a unique one. I'm conflicted on them. I looked down the list. I'm honestly still conflicted on them. I'm just going to give them Chris Jenkins, who's the highest interior defensive lineman on the board for PFF, because they're in a weird spot where I feel like there's edge rushers, there's running backs, there's again still some receivers they could go with. It's kind of got positions they don't need. I wonder if they would think about a trade at some point, either up or down, to kind of try and fix that a little bit. The Cowboys drafted an offensive lineman. So that was what, Tyler Guyton. They could still double down on that if they wanted. And honestly, they could even go with a running back here. I wouldn't hate a running back around this spot if it's the right situation, but I don't know if that's what they have to do personally. So where do you go? I don't know. Again, I felt corners okay, I think. They had those injuries, but they really survived them until the Green Bay game where things went off the rails. So I wouldn't think they would have to go there. You know what? Let's do it. Let's go with my guy, Johnny Wilson. I don't care that he's way down on PFF's big board. I like him enough. I'm willing to draft him here at pick 56. Then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who I liked getting Graham Barton. It's not the sexiest pick, but he should be really good to help out that. I do wonder if they go with a running back here. That's a bit high for me personally. I don't know if I would like that. Here's what I want to do. This is the perfect fit, actually. Give me Kamari Laster. Really good corner. I have him as a top 50 prospect, and they really need corner, like a starter, really. They need a starter. Like Zion McCollum is not a starting cornerback. I think they have to address that position. This would be a good way to address it. Moving on to the Green Bay Packers. I think I might have accidentally, Kyrie Jackson's actually higher on my board, although he's 87th on PFF's board. But whatever, it's my mock draft. I guess people aren't crazy about him. But hey, at this point in the draft, as I said, things get off the rails, so I'll simulate that a little bit. We'll add him to the mix. Then the Texans, which, what did the Texans do here? They don't really have a lot of needs, so do you kind of just go best player available? Here's an interesting one for me, which I guess PFF isn't as crazy about this player as other people are. Oh my God, they have him at 122. That's crazy. I've heard T'Vondre Sweat a lot higher on some other boards. Let me get him here at 59. Is this stupid? Am I being dumb? I liked him a little bit as a player. He has some issues, and I think the off the field issues are maybe what concerning people more than the on the field issues. There are some on the field issues as well, but I don't know. Pick 59. Texans can kind of take a swing on a player and see if they can get a splash piece here. That's kind of what I would do, I think. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. The Buffalo Bills, who again, let's keep in mind, so we had them draft, Johnny Newton, which great job by the Bills getting Johnny Newton pick 33. If they do that, I think if you're a Bills fan, that's what you're hoping for, right? Where do you go now? Let's give them a receiver. Why don't we? They could use a receiver. Yeah, I'm going to go Jermaine Burton, who, again, has some off-the-field issues, which is going to hurt his draft stock, but he's a good player. So I like him. Nasia Isaac isn't someone who I had as a fringe first round like PFF did, but I like him here to the Lions, who could use an edge rusher. Fits a position of need. They kind of really help shore up that defense. Sure, let's do that. The 49ers, again, a lot of running backs. I don't think a running back is going to go here for me. Where did the 49ers go? Wow, they're another unique situation. Do they go corner? Sure. Well, let's give them Phillips here out of Kentucky. Why not? Give him the corner that could, I was on the wrong team. I did the Ravens. Oh no, I screwed it up. Okay, well, Phillips is going to the Ravens weren't going to select him. The Ravens would go with another receiver. We'd have a receiver run. I like Javon Baker. So those two are flipped. Phillips and Baker are flipped. Let's do that. And then for the Chiefs, what do the Chiefs do? They could really use an offensive lineman. But man, the Chiefs are in a weird spot. There isn't a lot of great talent here. You know what? Maybe this is the reach. Give me Marshawn Nealand. I like him enough here. It's not a reach. This is I think good value, if anything, late in this second round. It's not a great fit. They have bigger needs, but I don't know. I like it. So, it only shows the first round. I think I can show the full results. Here we go. There we go. This is the recap. If you forgot one of these picks, I don't know. It's an interesting experiment to do it. Things kind of got off the rails a little bit, but we're doing what we can here. Round 2 is always much more difficult to predict than round 1, but I was having fun with it. Some really good players that can go round 2 and some really interesting situations that can arise. I think there's a handful of guys I have as first round grades that are still on the that are still on the board. So a lot of good players are going to go. Should be interesting. Yeah, this is my mock draft for round 2. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.